Morning, everyone. I'm Carol Rains Heisdorf. I'm a senior research and planning analyst here at Fresno City College. And this is our presentation for our data dashboards. Alex, you can go ahead and go to the next screen. So this is our IR team, -1. So Dr. Pimentel wasn't able to join us today. He's taking some well-deserved time off. And we have 8 researchers here: Alex Adams, Lily Gao, myself, Charles Kralowick, Dee Settenberber, David Woods, Maribel Viveros, and our newest team member, Justin Dunbar. He's our student researcher. Next slide.
Thank you,
And
Carol.
Alex is going to talk a little more.
Yeah, so what is institutional research, planning, and effectiveness? One of our main functions is data and research. So for research, we do both quantitative and qualitative work. I'd say the sort of biggest service, or where faculty see us, is in the program review process. Whether it's the data dashboards that you're accessing, those are put together by Lily specifically for the instructional dashboard, or one-on-one consultations that we provide to help you understand the data. That's really where we interact with faculty most, I would say, with data and research. But we're also really involved in getting the student voice via surveys and focus groups. We've done a lot of that work over the years with student equity. Dee is specifically assigned to work on student equity issues. So you might have seen her in the RAMRail labs. She's done a lot of training through that. But we're also, it's a big part of our mission, as you'll see when the upcoming slides, is that we're really focused on student equity. We help when we can with assessment issues, so especially with SUOs. We've done a lot of work with student services over the years, but we're certainly available to help you developing SLOs or assessing those and interpreting those. And then we do a ton of ad hoc requests, especially from administration, but you'll see at the end, we have a data request form. And so if there's something that you're interested in getting help with data and research, we certainly can do that. Grants, Maribel is specifically assigned to working on grants. So if there's a grant that you're interested in applying for, or one that you already have that you don't have our support with already, I don't know why that would be, but we're usually really involved with the grants. But we certainly can help you as you're developing those. And then, oops, it's not letting me advance. There we go. And so that was the research side of the house in terms of planning and institutional effectiveness. As you heard yesterday, accreditation is always around the corner, and we play a big part of that. Carol, over the last, I don't know what, 5 to 10 years, has really taken a lead in accreditation at the college. And so you'll definitely see us on those committees and helping with gathering evidence as we're writing our self-evaluation report. Participatory governance, the office has really been involved in the governance restructure, and we serve on almost all of the College Council standing committees. We help with some of the task force, especially Academic Senate. I know with AB 705, Dee has been assisting with that. So we're really involved in all of that governance. And yesterday you saw me presenting on the strategic planning, because we helped develop that, and we'll be a big part of evaluating it and tracking progress on our strategic plan. And then finally, goal setting and tracking. This is something that's been a bigger and bigger requirement from the state. And so we work on this a lot in terms of helping develop institutional goals, student success goals, and then tracking where we are and evaluating how we're doing on this progress.
Hi, Alex.
Yeah.
It's Chuck. We have a question.
Great.
Oh, it looks like Carol just answered it. Could you define those assessment abbreviations? And Carol says SLO is student learning outcomes, SUO is service unit outcomes, PLO is program learning outcomes, and ILO is institutional learning outcomes.
Perfect. Thank you, Chuck. And then I think Justin is going to take the next one, our mission.
Okay, the role of the IRPE. As per our mission statement, we strive to promote and facilitate an equity-minded culture of evidence and inquiry in which accurate, usable, and useful and actionable data and information provide the basis for data-informed decisions to improve student learning and institutional effectiveness. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Justin. And then I think Carol was going to talk some about our mission and strategic plan.
Thank you. Yeah, you'll notice that in our IRPE mission, that word actionable. And that's one of the things that we really want to be able to provide for you is sometimes when we look at data, then we go kind of like, well, so what do we do with that? So we want to help you understand data that's actionable, that you can actually do something with that data. One of the things Alex talked about at Convocation yesterday was our new mission, which was updated. And some of the words in that, have to do with access and equity. And creating a culture of anti-racism. So all of those things are really important for us to remember and to consider as we start looking at the data. Go ahead to the next one, Alex. One of the other things that's really important is being able to align with our strategic goals. And this time around, we were really centering on our students' journey. So how do we help our students to start strong and stay strong and finish strong? And what are those data elements that you can look at to help support your students and your the work that you do? So as you look at our dashboards, we've organized them around these strategic goals. So we have dashboards that that Alex will show you later that are categorized under start strong or stay strong or finish strong. And that's just to kind of help you as you look at the data to frame, what is it that you want to be centered on and focused on when you're thinking about how to improve your practices for your students. Next one. And so our learning objectives for today, first one is understanding how to navigate and how to filter and how to download. So we're going to show you different pieces of the dashboard so that you can better understand what our web page is like and how you can actually access that data. And as you may have already noticed, Chuck is going to be monitoring the chat and kind of interrupting us as we go. So feel free to type in a question or raise your hand. We're going to be watching that. We want you to be able to interact with us as we're doing the presentation, so you don't have to hold your questions until the end. And I believe the next slide is Lily Gao. She's going to talk about navigating.
So like you mentioned, the main way you can access to our dashboard is from our IR website. So in this website, we have a web page for the data dashboard. And the other way, I think this what you can see here is the dashboard. I think it's the first one on that website. It's a search dashboard. So we want to have this one to help you to navigate our dashboard.
Hey,
So,
Lily.
Yes.
Can you adjust your microphone? Some of the participants are having a hard time hearing you.
How about now?
It's still a little choppy.
Yeah. It's okay. These are really overview slides. And so the point here is that we've got, you'll see when I do the overview, I'm going to do a demonstration of all of this, but right here you see that you can select on keywords. And so this is on our website, but then all of the dashboards themselves are sort of organized in a way. And so I'll go over that in a minute. We just wanted to set the stage here in the presentation first for you all before doing a demonstration so that you had a better sort of base knowledge before we move forward.
And Alex, if you want to click on the, go ahead and click on it again. Whoops, went too far. Thank you. Go back one more.
This one?
Okay, yeah, that would be the last one, right? See?
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Okay. So then we'll go to filtering. I think that was Dee just going to overview this for us. Let me know how you want me to advance it, Dee.
All right, thank you, Alex. So filter is a functionality that allows you to remove some of the values from your screen so that you can specifically remove some values that you are interested in, or you can compare the different values in the dashboard. So as you can see in the screen, filters are displayed or demonstrated by these rectangle boxes. We call them like drop down boxes. So when you click on that downward arrow in those rectangle boxes, you will get the drop down and you will be able to see the options for those specific filters. So in this case, our filter is gender. And as you can see, we selected male students in this filter. So our dashboards are generally very, very dynamic. So please pay attention when you click on or select one filter, that filter may impact the other options that will be displayed in the filter. So please pay attention what you are filtering so that it may affect the other options in the other filters. So to be able to help you out, we generally put the selected filters information generally at the top of the dashboard so that you can track what you are selecting from those filters. And also we have like reward options at the bottom of the page, and that's gonna allow you to undo the selections that you have made. So thank you. Then right now, Maribel will continue with the downloading option.
Thank you, Dee. So once you have all of your filters set, you can actually download the visual as an image, a PDF, or even as a PowerPoint. The download feature is usually at the bottom left or the top. It's not always in the same position, but it's usually either at the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen. And once you click on it, you'll see a bunch of different features that pop up. So you can actually, once you have the PDF or the PowerPoint, you just click download and it should be able to transfer directly into a report or your own presentation. One thing to note is that certain permissions are enabled. So if you don't see a feature like as you see data is not highlighted, that's an additional feature that you would have to ask for. And same thing with like crosstab or image or PDF. So if none of them are highlighted, contact us and then we can give you the appropriate permissions. And then Alex, I think you're going to go ahead and walk us through.
Yeah, thank you, Maribel. So I'm going to go through a demonstration, but I first wanted to let you know that we're going to have you do this activity after the demonstration. So pay attention, because we want you to be able to do this, or go ahead and follow along if you have multiple screens and such. So 1 second. Are you able to see the new the Fresno City website? Yeah. Okay. So I want to start from the very beginning so that you aren't like, how'd you get to that data dashboard website? And so it's just 2 clicks. All you have to remember is to go to About and then select Institutional Research and Effectiveness.
Alex, will the PowerPoint be made available?
Yeah, I believe all of the things are going to be uploaded, and then also the recording. So. All right, and so we're on our webpage, the Institutional Research and Effectiveness page, and on the right, we've got a link called Data Dashboards. And so this is where we're talking about the Search Cloud, and all the other dashboard publicly available dashboards are here. And so if we click here, this is the one that Lily was presenting about the keywords, because we never know what we don't know. And so if you're just curious about different things and you want to know, like, what was I looking at earlier? I think like if you want to look at online versus hybrid, what dashboards have information about that. And so you can go here and it shows the different dashboards that have it. And then these blue ones are the links to those dashboards. And so that's going to get you there, and you'll be able to see. And I believe it's a filter, yeah, delivery type. So if you wanted to look at face-to-face versus online student enrollments or headcount here, that's how you do that. And so I'll go back to the main page of the dashboards. And we've got our info book. And so this just has some general statistics about the college. So if you're ever interested in, what was the head count for the last few years, or what's the breakdown by different demographics, this is a really good place to just go check that out. It's really easy to understand. Those of you that have gone through program review recently know that some of the red text asks you to compare your outcomes to institutional set standards. And so that's where you'll find our progress on our institutional set standards, which is an accreditation requirement. And so definitely something to think about if you haven't heard of that before. And then, like we were talking about, we've organized our dashboards with the Guided Pathways framework. And so Stay Strong includes different dashboards related to supporting students as they begin their journey at the college or on their educational path. Then we have Stay Strong, which are related to supporting students as they persist in their journey. And then Finish Strong. And so this is about how the students completed their educational journey. So we've got information about degrees and certificates, transfer students, time to degree. And so I was going to demo the program review dashboard just because this is where the main faculty dashboard that you'll be interacting with if you're ever have to be the writer of your program review, or if you're curious about your own subject. And so like we talked about, so that was navigating to this dashboard. So now we'll look at filtering. And so we've got our filters at the top here. And let's go ahead and select. Hey, Carol, did you look at the participants? Do you know if there's a program in the audience, or if not, it's fine.
It's
Go to-
bio.
Bio, yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good one. Always lots of students in bio. So now that we're just looking at biology, and then we've also selected so that we've got a dual enrollment. Apparently there was no dual enrollment courses in biology, but if it was one that had dual enrollment, then you would have both options there as your filter. And so now if we wanted to look at online, we just like that. You can see there's very, very little online enrollments for biology prior to COVID. And now we've seen quite the spike. We'll be curious to see how that goes as things return back. So that's our filter. And I wanted to, this wasn't in the presentation, but it's sort of a non-intuitive thing in Tableau. The software that we use to do all of these dashboards, it's called Tableau. And so all of this is really nice. It provides a really good way to visualize data and to provide data in an easy, accessible way for all of you. But one thing they do that's not very intuitive is that if you want to select, we've got different tabs here, and so those have different information. So make sure that you're always looking at the top and you can see different things based on those tabs. So I will go back to our last one. And so we're still on biology, and sometimes the filters carry over, sometimes they don't. So you want to check for that. So you can see here, the biology filter has carried over from the tab. I believe if we go to the FTES, yeah, see it, we don't have our filter on biology anymore. So you'd have to go back in and select biology to make sure that you're getting that same information. And we can see the filters at the top, like Dee described. So our final learning objective, I'll demonstrate how to download information. So we're still on biology, and I'll go down to the bottom and select download. And you can see that we've got image, data, crosstab, PDF or PowerPoint. And so I'll select the PDF. And so if we do this view, it's going to do everything. So I'll download that. And select our PDF. And so now we're in our downloaded version, and you can attach this as a document or insert it into an email if you're trying to show something to your dean or something like that. And so, but there's also other options on PDF. So if you just want one of the graphs in this view, you just select specific sheets from this workbook. Will probably be easier to think about. And so from this dashboard. And so then if we select head count, that's just going to do the head count graph. So I'll download that. Open it. And so now we're just looking at the head count graph instead of the whole thing. And so if you're somebody that likes working with the numbers and you don't want to import any of this, you can go ahead and do the crosstab. So we'll crosstab. Do that head count again. It downloaded an Excel file. So I think I have to stop this share. And so there you go. Now we're in the Excel file that shows the years and then the head count that were in that graph. If you wanted to create your own graph or, do some, it makes sense. You'd probably want that when you're looking at different data. So I'll go back to our presentation. Were there any questions about that demonstration before we move forward?
I didn't see any, Alex.
So, let's go.
Could we use this data in a stats class? I believe we could.
Absolutely. This is publicly available. So yeah. And we
That's
certainly,
right. Program review is public.
all of those dashboards that we showed you, we have some behind the scenes that you need permission to log into, but those aren't, there's a link to them on that website, but all of the ones with pictures are publicly available.
And just so you know, the ones that aren't publicly available, typically those are because they have some type of a student list associated with those dashboards, and you would be interacting with data that you would actually be have access to download some type of a student identifiable data. So those are the ones that would require some type of login. All the ones though that are public, they don't have that type of level data.
Okay. So now we wanted you all to do the data search. Sorry, I forgot.
This is your opportunity to be interactive with us. So we have a little bit of a challenge for you on this one. You're going to explain it, Alex? Or?
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
My voice is
Sure. So we're hoping you guys will all participate in this. We are giving you 3 options, and we're going to let you go ahead and try out if you can on your computer. And you actually should also be able to do this on your phone. I've tried it. It's not quite as easy because phones are pretty small. But pick one of those categories: start strong, stay strong, or finish strong. And then we've given you some clues as to how we want you to navigate, filter, and download. So our challenge for you is to go ahead and choose one of those. And we don't actually have a prize. You know, if we were in person, normally we would have like a gift card or something, but it's virtual. So go ahead and try doing one of those, and then we'll have winners, whoever uploads them into the chat first. So we're going to give you guys a few minutes and see if you can accomplish one of those. You know, I thought just now I should have had some music going on here for us, but I don't. So we'll just be quiet. And feel free to ask any questions if you want some help doing that. Or if any of you really want to be brave and share your screen while you're doing that, you can do that too.
I think I've got it. Can I share my screen?
Megan, are we able to do that? So
We
that
can,
share
I'm
your screen?
updating it right now or
Okay,
enabling
great.
it right now.
Great.
Okay, you should be able to.
Okay.
I'll stop my share. Sorry.
So is this correct?
Yes. That
Okay.
is, and that's on that screen. One of the things with our new strategic goals is that there's a real focus for us on African American students. So with the majority of our dashboards, you can disaggregate to the specific race and ethnicity. And this dashboard, this is part of the Start Strong. So what it's going to demonstrate for you is how are our new students doing in our courses. And for faculty, you can disaggregate it and you can look at not at your individual sections, but you can look at the overall course and see how students are doing as new students in those. And it also has a little filter down there at the bottom that lets you know if the course has a prerequisite or a co-requisite, which may also be really important to better understand, you know, are there requirements that students are having to do in order to get into courses? Sometimes that's a real interesting one to look at too. Any questions about that?
Susan has her hand up. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
Would you like me to
Well,
stop
Sure.
the share? Or
I'm not quite as savvy as Joseph because just going to the faculty and staff website, I don't even know how to get to data dashboard.
Would you mind showing us how you got there?
let's see. So I started here. Then I went to, what did I do?
About.
What is it?
About. Go ahead and hover.
Oh,
over
yes,
it.
I'm sorry. About, and then over to the right here, after about institutional research and effectiveness. So I clicked on that. Then institutional, nope.
Yeah.
Data
It's on-
dashboard on the right. And that gives us these different categories. So Start Strong was here. If I scroll down, Stay Strong is here. Finish Strong. So I went to New Student Course Success. And you have all of these options up here. And so I just chose, I deselected all so I could do a specific one. And because I'm in humanities, I, went with my bias and clicked humanities. And then I did the same thing under race and ethnicity. I deselected so then I could select something specific. And that's how I got to that. So you could do it, you could do it with gender or any of these other categories or all of them at the same time.
Thank
I
you. That was
don't know if
great.
I explained that very well, but
No, you did. And the thing with our website is there's multiple ways to find us on the website. So, under faculty and staff, there's a way, and even up there in the search, if you type in dashboards, the first thing that will pop up will be a link to our website. So there's multiple ways that you can find us.
I'm
Did
gonna
that help, Susan?
I'm gonna get rid of my share here, so I can go back to you.
Thank you, Joseph. We really appreciate you participating.
Yep.
And then I think Oksana has her hand raised.
Yes, I just wanted to share. Well, first of all, this is wonderful. So wonderful to see my former IR colleagues. There's a really easy, quick link to get to the dashboards. All you need to do is type in fresnocitycollege.edu / and data. Very easy. All you need to remember is / and data. And then you don't need to remember all the other steps.
Thank you, Oksana. Even I get to learn too today. For everyone that doesn't know, Oksana was in the research department here for, I don't know, I forget the time period, Oksana, but she was interim director for a while before moving to district. She was director of grants. Is that your title?
Look like, I think someone else said that they were able to in the chat, but now I've lost it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's somebody.
We had a
else
couple
with the
people
course
say
itself.
they solved it. Mhm.
Yeah, and I see, tell me if I'm pronouncing it right, Simone
Yes.
uploaded, yeah.
Yeah.
You were able to upload the course success and retention trend in the PDF, great.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. We, in the past, have done this in a computer lab, and so then we sort of walk around and check everybody's, learning or provide direction. So we're having trouble figuring out how to transition this to the virtual session. So thank you for your participation. Unless there's other questions about this piece. Oh, I see a question from Chia.
Hi, yes, I have questions about the Asian data. I'm trying to look over the data right now, and it seems that all of the Asians are grouped together. Are we able to disaggregate to like the specific racial Asian group or?
Yeah, we've been working on this recently. Lily, what is the dashboard that we added it to most recently?
Can you hear me okay now? No.
We're done. We'll have to work on your mic next time.
We have it in Rampantry.
Yeah, but there's another one. At the end, we were going to do some sort of office hour, so we can either do a breakout room with you and show everything, or depending on how many leave at the end, we can do that with everyone if that's all right with you, Chia.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I will go back to our presentation. We just have a couple of slides and then we'll move into a more informal thing, or people can leave to go get lunch if they don't have additional questions. So.
And the one dashboard, Alex, that does have that additional Asian breakdown filter is the student head count, the first one that we were looking at.
Okay. Just do that real quick. I can remember off.
Student head count and course enrollment dashboard. Yeah.
Yeah, we were working
additional.
with Dean Senga about this. Yeah, so we've got this Asian breakdown so that you can go ahead and select the different subgroups. Okay. David was gonna start this slide for us.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so this brings us to our what if you need data. And this brings us to what we call our data request form. This is something we implemented, I think, about a few years ago now for a multitude of reasons, one of which was so that a clear baseline is created regarding what you're wanting as the data requester, and so that no information is lost along the way. Obviously, beforehand, data requests were done via email, or maybe someone had some questions and they called us via the phone where we're writing stuff down. So obviously things can get lost along the way. We always have this specific place that we can go to where we know what you're wanting as the data requester. Another reason is so that we have as an office, a clearer idea of the amount of data requests that we're getting, as well as the time required to complete them. Say if it's a student list, that's a little quicker, or a data dashboard can take, up to a couple of months for us to get to, depending on the scope of the data request. To get to where this data request form is, Alex explained it earlier. If you go to the Fresno City College website and go to About and then Institutional Research and Effectiveness, you'll see on the right side there on the left page, the institutional research. That second one that's highlighted, data requests, will bring you to the web page you see there. And then you can click on the data request form, either of the ones that are highlighted there on the left. The data request form itself is what you see on the right side, where you can input the project title, what you're going to call it, your name, your email, so that we can get in contact with you. If you have any files to attach so that we can see what you're looking at or what you're expecting. And then what I would say is the most important part is the describe the research request in detail portion, right? So we really mean as much detail as humanly possible to help us out to get you the data that you're wanting. So let's say, for example, in a makeup scenario, you have an office or a program where you're tracking students who are coming in and out. And you come to us and you say, I want to know how many students we've seen. That's a good start, but there's a lot of information there that we need to pinpoint exactly. Are you interested in the number of specific students you've seen, the unduplicated version, or are you interested in the number of people that come in and out every day, which would be a duplicated portion of that? Are you interested in disaggregating your data? So tell us if you want it by gender and ethnicity. So for that request in detail portion, we really mean as much detail as you can possibly do so that it saves us time, saves you time too, because we can probably get it to you faster. So there's no, communicating back, a little less communicating back and forth to elaborate on exactly what you're wanting. And yeah, Alex, do you have anything else to say?
Thank you, David. That was perfect. I just wanted to reiterate how important this is for me as director. There's a lot going on here in the office and at the college, so I lose track of projects. I know it's easier to email us, but then it doesn't necessarily get into this project tracking form, and then it's just easier for it to get lost. So we really appreciate you going through this process so that you have a more efficient transaction. But I will add that if you don't know exactly what you want, it's fine to have sort of a less specific description of the research request, and then we'll just need to reach out to you to sort of hammer out the details of what we'll be working on and providing to you. So don't let that be a deterrent if you don't have a very, super clear idea. But that's something that we're able to help you with, since we know the data better and what's possible to do for whatever question you have. So did anybody else have any other?
I think the only other thing I would add, Alex, too, is there's also, you'll see there, it says data request status dashboard. So if you open up that little section, there's actually a dashboard where you can type in your name and then it'll pull up. Yeah, I don't have that screen on there, sorry. It'll pull up your request so you can see what the status of your request is, if it's been assigned, if it's in progress, if we're waiting for some more input, that will also come up. And then at the end, when we've completed your request, you'll get a message, and there'll be a little link for you to do a survey, which we greatly appreciate, that you would give us some feedback on how the experience was for your data request.
Yeah, and just to add to what Alex said, we have common metrics. So even if you don't know what's the best way to measure a success, or if you're just looking for a specific kind of research project that you're working on, you can ask questions, and they're like, what would be the best way to measure this? And we most commonly know there's always the most common indicators or key performance indicators for different metrics. So we can help with that as well.
Thank you all. Were there any questions in the chat, Chuck?
Not seeing any, Alex.
Okay, just making sure. All right, we're almost done. This is more for if you come back to the PowerPoint, here's some links to different additional resources. The direct links to some of the things that we just showed you. We do have a lot of our survey results and other bigger projects available on the website, and so you can access those if you poke around there. Also didn't want to forget the student equity plan. That's really our college's, plan for reducing disproportionate impact for student groups. And it's got a lot of data in there. So, and it's something that we work closely with Dr. Ray Ramirez on. And so wanted to make sure that that link was here. And then finally, the state, the Chancellor's Office, California Community Colleges Chancellor's Office, has really done a good job of developing a lot of new resources for us all recently. And so these, depending on what you're working on, if you're in CTE, we've got our strong workforce and our pipeline dashboards for math and English. They recently developed a new AB 705 dashboard where we can compare our college rates against other colleges and the state rates to see how successful we're being. And then the top one, the student success metrics, many of the things we're being held accountable for by the state as we move forward, including the funding formula, are really, they're trying to link it all back to these student success metrics. So I encourage you to go search those out if that's something you're working on, either a statewide project or, even if you're in a doctoral program, there's certainly a lot of good resources and data there for you all. So just wanted to have these links available in the PowerPoint that you can come back to.
Hey, Alex, we did get an interesting question from Kelly. I believe she's the person who asked about whether we can use the data for stats. And she's asking, can we see the sample size for the graphs? And I believe it depends on the visual. Sometimes you can, sometimes you cannot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I forgot to show one key part of a lot of these dashboards is when you hover over, you're going to get, we call this the tooltip for each of the data points. And so then you're going to be able to see, these are already counts there, but if we go back to like GPA, success and retention, I think, yeah, it's going to show both your cell size and your success rate there in that tooltip. And this is where the crosstabs get more interesting when you've got more data available. So we'll go ahead and download the crosstab. So now this is going to show you for all of those, both the gap, the course enrollment, and then the success rate. So you get a lot of interesting data when you start downloading some of these crosstabs. So certainly you're welcome to use any of this for your stats class, or if you want to talk, we can try to direct you to specific dashboards for whatever assignments you have. So please feel free to reach out to us for that. We are very student adjacent, but we always love helping with courses and student success. So.
And I know for Alex, for some of the instructors, for Joellen Green, she actually requested for her class that we would come and present and talk with the students about the data. So we're also very happy to do that. We love to get out and see students and talk with them about our data and what's available. And we can also, depending on what the students are doing in the class, there's also a student version of Tableau that they can download, and you can utilize that as a tool in the class for the students to be able to look at data.
Next spring, we'll be also offering a Tableau course, just to let you know that.
Oh, that's great.
That's exciting. Please let us know if we can help with anything, whether it's data sets or we can certainly provide some tutoring help with that, since I don't know if the tutoring center would have that expertise. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, like I mentioned before, if there's no general comments or questions, then feel free to go off to your lunch. We'll be around for anybody that wants to stay in the room. We can answer specific questions or go into any of the dashboards in more depth. So thank you all for your participation and attendance.